Welcome everyone, TheDailyWoo here as the recording of this Sunday, August 15th, 2021. Each and every weekend on said Sundays, well every Sunday, they do a farmer's market right here in downtown. Now I am going to be heading to St. Cloud, Florida, about a half hour, 25 miles give or take. A former hometown of mine where I was living when I quit the last job I ever worked. 10 years ago, the anniversary has reared its head a decade ago. Well, it's a week ago, give or take about a week ago. I missed the day. It was August 9th, 2011. And I am going to take a trip back, a little nostalgic look back in my thoughts on this last decade, decisions I have made, and some announcements. I'm inviting you to join me. We'll get in my car, say hello to Big the Foot, cruise over to St. Cloud. Join me, shall you? It's not too far really from Celebration, Florida, down to St. Cloud. Give or take about a half hour. You take a toll road. 192 a little longer, but toll road's about a half hour. And just like that, weather changes very quickly around these parts. Sunny, a few miles down the road, rain. And of course, not thinking, left the umbrella at home. Jeez, coming down, barely even see the St. Cloud water tower up there in the distance. A little bit of precipitation here. Turning off 13th Street, which is also Highway 192, onto Pennsylvania Ave, down to where my former apartment used to be. Right up here a couple blocks. The rain is letting up a little bit. Just a little, not too much. And check it out, welcome to St. Cloud. Little mural right there. Left-hand side, this beige building, top floor. First window you see. That was my apartment. I lived up there in a little one-bedroom place on the corner for a few years. I would say probably in July, well June or July of 2011, I started to contemplate quitting my job, traveling, starting to go full-time here on YouTube platform, making videos, traveling. It wasn't something that was done by a lot. There were a few people doing it, but it was something I wanted to do. I knew if I started it, others would kind of jump on board. Some kindred spirits, if you will, that understood a desire for, roadside attractions, travel videos, and something a little away from the norm. Could have been that my lease was even up in June or July. That might have been kind of prompted my thoughts. I could still recall having my van. I had a Ford E150 van that I would park. Sometimes I'd park over there in that lot because of street cleaning through here in downtown St. Cloud. But if there was not street cleaning, my van would be parked directly under my window, which was that first window up there. The bathroom was the next window. This was a totally other apartment. There were two apartments up top. And I would look down at my van and think to myself, what if I just moved into my van and didn't pay rent and didn't have a permanent home just so I could travel? And once I got that in my brain, the next thought was, what if I quit my job and then I don't have to go to work? Just saying that out loud doesn't even sound like it would make sense. There was even a point on one evening that I went downstairs. I had an air mattress in the back of the van, had the pillow, slept in the van even though I could have been up in my nice cozy bed up top, just to see if I could hack it, if I could do it, if I was built internally or in my mindset to be able to sleep in a vehicle. And once I did that, once or twice, I knew it's go time. And the wheels were in motion. Not only in my brain, but also putting my 2-week notice in to the last job I ever had, which was a feed store. It was a half a mile from here. Sometimes I wouldn't even drive. Sometimes I would just walk over there, depending on how much time I had. Oh yeah, all coming back to me now. Look how flooded the road got just in that short little time frame. Also throwback to anyone who remembers the, back in those days. Fisherman in the fridge. If you know, you know. Right through here. Okay, I'm gonna, oh, it is like, yeah, it is. Oh. I would sit right over here on this little planter. This was the door. I had a key. I'd go up there, walk up a flight of stairs, and go up to my room and slumber before going to work. My job at the feed store. Up until August 9th of 2011, when everything changed. I have discussed all these details before. Over time, you know, over the tenure of me doing videos, I have discussed all this and shown some of these spots. But it's been a while, and I figured, heck, it's been exactly a decade. A week ago was the anniversary of a decade of me quitting my job. Granted, I did move out of this about a month or two before, and just slept in the back of my van, would go to work, completed, put my 2-week notice in 2 weeks before, but that was my window, right up there. And I traveled around in my van for many years, sleeping in the back of the van, Walmart parking lots, off the side of the road, had no money, no income coming in, no monetization. Social media wasn't really relevant then. There was no collaborations. No one else was even really doing it at that point, which I know it probably sounds it doesn't even sound like that would be fathomable, but just because so many people are doing it now, and it is a way to make a living and have a business and have a way of life, it was not that way then. You were seen as someone who was doing something that was not commonplace. It was many people said, what the heck are you thinking? You're gonna make videos, you're gonna film things, and people are gonna watch them? There was no indication of money. Never even knew that was an option. Going back just a tad bit before August 9th, when everything kind of changed, I started doing videos. The first video I ever uploaded was on New Year's Eve 2009, but really I started making videos into early 2010. So it took about 1.5 years before I quote unquote went full time. And during that time, even up to the first couple of years of me making videos, I was still in a band. I was in a band here from Florida. I was in a band from California. But before I joined the band from California, I was in a local band around here. We had a pretty decent following. Outside of St. Cloud and Orlando, no one had ever heard of us and still has not heard of us, but we had a pretty decent following around these parts. And we would play in a venue right here called Big D's, which is now an antique store. It was a bar. We played in here, and I can still recall the day when Sandon from Lucky Number 17 Screen Printing Company, who I'd get my t-shirts done for the band, brought an Adam the Woo t-shirt, a shirt with my name on it. He brought like 10 or 15 or 20 of them to this show that I was playing with the band, because he said, hey, people are watching your videos, you should sell t-shirts. And I was completely against it. I did not like that idea. I said, no one is ever gonna buy a t-shirt with my face on it. But they did, they sold. It's now an antique shop. It's no longer Big D's. But right up here, they would have, you know, who was playing out here on the side. They would put like, you know, what bands were playing. Our name of my band would be up on the side of it. And that was the first shirt I ever had, before Spreadshirt, before the t-shirt sales online. And then shortly after that, I decided, I'm gonna have some online t-shirt sales. Well, I am here to announce officially, as of today, I have taken my t-shirt shop completely down in honor of how I used to think. I'm going back to the way I used to think. If you look it up as of this very moment, it pops up with a 404 shop not found. I am happy and content to say that there are no longer Adam the Woo t-shirts available online. Granted, a few months ago, I stopped making a profit on them, and I took away anything that I would make and just had shirts for anyone who wanted some last minute ones, just to get them for, you know, $10 plus the shipping fee, instead of my normal, you know, $7, $8 profit I would make over the last few years. Even though I really hardly ever promoted them in recent years, I finally have just done it. Completely annihilated the shirts, which all kind of stems right here from a Big D show, now an antique shop. Patreon's been gone for a couple months. Spreadshirt is now officially gone. Yeah, feels pretty good. Never got into doing this really to make money. In fact, I didn't even know you could for probably for a year or two. I had 8,000 subscribers. Went for a couple years before I even got to that point because no one even knew what YouTube was. Took a long way to progress, you know, to where the general population knew about YouTube. So never really did it to make money. But let me assure you, I am making money now. I had a thought that I was never going to return to the job at the feed store until I made enough where I made the same in a month as I made on YouTube as I made at the feed store. After I'd get off work, sometimes I'd go home, take a shower, and then I'd walk over to the Save-A-Lot, which is a grocery store, a very inexpensive grocery store. This is the backside of it. Well, say the backside of water because there is water flowing from this pipe right here. And I would get myself frozen pizza, you know, a couple dollars worth of food. Very, very tight budget. This store was halfway between the feed store I worked at and that apartment. And then I would just go home, watch a movie, and then next day, go back to work. Pretty cool, it still exists. Has not gone out of business. Good old Save-A-Lot. Yeah. Many a meals from in there. Here it is, this is it. This would have been the spot when I did drive my van. I would park right here, or there, or sometimes right over here next to the hay trailer. Used to be a hay trailer right here, while the round bales would go in here, and sometimes I'd park my van there. But the hay trailer that had the square bales of hay, coastal hay, they called it, as opposed to alfalfa hay, which was a little more expensive. The trailer would be right here. In fact, you can kind of see the indentations of where a hay trailer used to be, and even the fence line where it's bent in, where sometimes a truck driver would smash into this. This building, which is not the feed store I worked at. It has changed names, changed owner. It is no longer affiliated with those I worked for. Not even the same place. The building went empty for a while, and another feed establishment took over. But this was the last job that I ever punched a clock at or worked at. And because it's a Sunday, there is no one here, which makes it a little less awkward for me to be walking around showing the front of it. As stated, not the same establishment, but it is the same building right here. I would drive the forklift around. I would, you know, pull around the salt that you would need for the water treatment over in here. Different colored bags and stuff would be right in here, which they no longer have those anymore. I would open up the side door to bring the feed out right over here. It's looking pretty good. Whoever owns it now, they're really keeping up with the place. I would open up this side door. Someone would order something. I would bring it out of the front to their car. Say their car was here or their truck was here. A lot of trucks. Put the feed in the back of the truck. Tons and tons of feed every day. 50-pound bags. Some other people order 10 bags. Yeah, I always had a sore back, but I was pretty strong then. Probably a lot stronger then than I am now. Back then, there was a mower shop right there. The mower shop is gone. Now it's an enterprise rental car establishment. 5 years I worked here. 5 years I worked in this building. And in the last year of me being in there, constantly was thinking, well, I made $10.50 an hour, which was, for the amount of work I was doing, in my opinion, was rather pitiful. However, I dealt with it. I did not dislike it enough to quit. And as the last year started to formulate, the last year of the 5 years of me being here, that disliking, that disdain turned into almost a hatred of where I worked and not being able to do what I want. You know, during the weekdays, Monday through Friday. Well, technically I work Monday through Thursday. I work 10-hour shifts. So I had Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off, which was nice. I would come in at 7:30, would get off at 6, and I would work it that way. So that was good. However, during those days, if something was happening, I couldn't go do it because I was stuck at work. Or if there was something I needed to go out of town to do, I had to take one of my week vacation periods to do. And it really, the thing that hit me the most was when I would recommend add-ons to customers and things like that, and then Christmas bonuses would come around, and the last couple of years business was not so great. And they would tell me, hey, we're not going to give you a Christmas bonus this year. And I started to think, well, what about all the extra stuff that I'm doing to make someone else money? I thought, what if I do that for myself and start to be self-employed down the road? If I find something that works for me, possibly I can make my own money instead of making money and making someone else wealthy, or at least someone else have a substantial income that I'm not getting anything back for other than a minimal paycheck. That coincided with the fact that I just wanted to travel. I wanted to see things. I will say see the world, because I'm not a world traveler, but see the U.S., which I did. And because I did all those things, all the people driving by are thinking, what the heck is this guy doing? That's the guy from the feed store that used to work at the feed store right there. That's what they're thinking right now, but probably not. None of these people probably remember me. You know, it's weird, but quitting a job, quitting working, was the best financial decision I ever made. I did not know it at the time, but I make more now than I ever made working a job anywhere. Don't really have a lot of skills. Just, you know, it was always retail. It was always back-breaking work or stocking shelves. And there's nothing wrong with that. Did that for a very long time. And when I quit the last job I had, which was here, I didn't think 10 years later I would be standing here thinking, wow, that was a successful decision. I thought I would be probably homeless, still living in the van, scraping by, eating top ramen, you know, out of the packages, or spread sandwiches. I bet a good portion of my life I was flat broke, even when working. And that was another thing that would always go into my head. I would work 40 hours a week, paying rent, paying the van payment, and I was still in the hole financially. And I thought, if I can just cut my bills out and have no rent, no van payment, once I got the van paid off, and just travel, all I will need is gas and enough to go to a grocery store and buy a pack of bread and some sandwich bread, stuff like that. If I can minimize my bills, if you only need 5% of what you are making to survive, you can make 95% less. That may not make a lot of sense, but you don't need to make 100% of your income if you cut off 90% of what your bills are. It's not about how much you make, it's how much debt you have and how much you spend. And when I realized that, it all started to make sense. The way I'm explaining it makes no sense. All you need to know is, it worked out. As stated, never was about becoming wealthy, making a lot of money, even making any money. It was all about just getting by. If I could just get by. That's what it was about. And doing things and doing stuff I wanted to do, that I was interested in. And I believe that's why I have the mentality that I have up to this day. Because I did it for different reasons. Because when I realized you could monetize videos and make an income, I was excited about that. Who knew? Who knew that I could start, $100 a month, then $200 a month, then $300 a month, and then onward and upward. Never had really the desire to have residual income from anything else. Now, I did go down the rabbit hole like many others with merchandise. In the last few years, really never pushed it, but I had the t-shirts for a while. For a few years of that, I was pushing them rather heavily. But at this point, I don't really need that. That's why I dropped the Patreon. That's why I don't do live streams. That's why I don't accept super chat. That's why I do not want crowdfunding. That's why I do not want, anyone to comp me on anything, any stays. I don't want to be hosted. I don't want to be sponsored. I don't want any of that. I'm making way more than I ever made working any job I've ever had in my life. And for that, I'm completely grateful. Ah yes, stopping off at a true St. Cloud staple, Morse Market. Used to always walk here from my apartment also, only a block away from my former apartment. I know it must be really confusing for others to think, why would you give up money that is just handed to you? Why wouldn't you just have merchandise for sale? Why wouldn't you, doing live streams, having people give money? Why would you not accept that? And I think what it boils down to is the fact that for me, personally, it is not needed at this stage in my game or my life. It is not needed at all. And there is, the way my brain works is I have to be a little bit rebellious and I have to do the opposite of what everyone else is doing. So when I started all of this over 10 years ago, quitting the job 10 years ago, a week ago was 10 years, but starting videos 11 and a half years ago, no one was doing it. I was kind of an outcast. I was punk rock, if you will, doing things differently than everyone else. I never wanted to be like everyone else. That was part of why I got into the punk scene, the punk community, started being in a punk band. Then when I stopped playing bass, being in a punk band, I took all those thoughts, if you want to call them values, that's not necessarily values, but just that thought process, shifted it over to what I'm doing now. Not getting into it, where I feel like now the new generation of YouTubers, or those getting into the platform for good reason, are looking at it from a different angle on why I started doing it. And I don't want to be lumped into that. The conglomeration. I don't want anyone looking at me thinking that's why I started this. Granted, everyone sees current. They see the now. They don't see the past, what got you there, or the future of what the future will be. So they're always looking at now, and some would assume why I am doing this is for that reason. I just want to abolish that completely. And that is probably why. Because I'm not only stubborn, but also rebellious, and that punk rock attitude. A lot will disagree with me on this, but that's fine. A lot disagree with me quitting my job, traveling, doing videos. It was frowned upon. I was shunned, ridiculed, and now the same people that are doing that are now asking for advice on what they should film and what kind of YouTube channel they should start. Life is good. I appreciate everyone that's watching, that has watched for all these years. I could not do this. Above all that, forget everything I've said, I could not have gotten to where I'm at if it was not for the viewers, the kindred spirit folks out there that get it. Whether it be the commenters, whether it be those who are just watching, not even commenting. Comments are such a small percentage of the viewership. So those who have never left a comment, thank you. Those who have never done anything to just put their eyes on any content, any video that I've ever done, watch my travels all these years, thank you. That is the most important thing. That is true support. It means a lot to me. Oh man, I was thirsty. I'll see you in the next video, the vlog. Is over. Harder to crush these ones than the other ones, but I did it. Old school, throwback. Yeah, anyone selling anything online with my name on it isn't from me.